Kill.switch is a famous internet urban legend about a lost video game supposedly released in 1989 by a shadowy Soviet-era developer called Karvina Corporation. According to the legend, only a few thousand copies of this surreal text-based survival horror game were ever produced. Its nightmarish feature was that at the game's completion, the game would immediately and completely erase itself from the computer, leaving no files or traces behind. This Kill.switch mechanic made the game a one-shot experience, and as copies were played and erased, it became one of the rarest and most sought-after pieces of lost media in gaming folklore. The legend states that players could choose between two characters, a human woman named Porto or an invisible, powerful demon named Ghast. Porto's story was notoriously difficult, but Ghast was said to be the true game, filled with cryptic philosophical text. The famous part of the myth involves the last known sealed copy, which was allegedly purchased in 2005 by a Japanese man named Yamamoto Rayuchi for $733,000. He intended to record and upload his playthrough, but the only video that ever surfaced was a short, heartbreaking clip of him crying at the character selection screen, presumably having triggered its self-destruction, forever sealing its secrets. The legend Kill.switch begins in 1989, where a mysterious and obscure Soviet software publisher known as the Karvina Corporation released this video game. The game was an anomaly from its inception, billed as an early entrant into the survival horror genre. Its release was limited, with production numbers cited between 5,000 and 10,000 copies, making it an object of extreme rarity from day one. It was a Soviet developer operating in 1989. This is a key component in the legend. This setting functions as a narrative black box in Western cultural imagination. The end stage Soviet Union is perceived as a place that was both technologically advanced and mysterious. The origin provides an in-universe justification of the myth. It explains why no one had ever heard of the Karvina Corporation. It was a secretive Soviet entity that plausibly disappeared after the USSR's collapse. It explains why the game was so philosophically bleak and unforgiving. It reflected a design mentality perceived as foreign and harsh. And most importantly, it explains why the game was impossible to find. It was obscure. It was a limited release from a defunct company in a country that no longer existed. The central hook of Kill.switch and the source of its enduring mystery is its primary mechanic, a very unique twist for its time. After you complete the game, a self-destruct code would activate, and the game would completely delete itself from the user's hard drive. The deletion was reportedly total, erasing all data related to the game, as if it never existed. This meant the game was a unique playing experience in the most literal sense that it could possibly be. It could not be copied, it couldn't be replayed, and it could not be loaned to a friend. Remember loaning your video games to your friends? This self-deletion was more than just a spooky feature. It made the entire story unfalsifiable. The primary skeptical challenge to any haunted or lost media story is simply show me a copy. The Kill.switch legend preempts this challenge entirely. It justifies the complete lack of real-world evidence in the game's own design. Oops. It was deleted. It reverses the burden of proof. The absence of existing copies, gameplay footage, or any digital trace is proof of its central claim. The game is a haunted object that, by its very nature, covered its own tracks. This makes the story self-perpetuating and sticky as a piece of internet folklore. The in-game lore of Kill.switch was a key part of its horror appeal. The game is set within a creepy, monster-infested or haunted coal mine. As a survival horror title, the player must navigate this dark and oppressive environment, which is populated by ghosts and the dead lurking about. The atmosphere is described as one of dread and decay, befitting of its genre. Upon starting the game, the player is presented with two character choices. The first, and the default choice for most players, is Porto. She is described as a little girl who can change size to navigate the mines. Her story begins as she awakens in the dark with wounds on her knees and elbows and no idea how she got there. As she explores, it's revealed that the mine is a place she knows, a mine where she was once an employee. The legend states that most players choose Porto for the simple practical reason that she could be seen. Her path involves navigating the demon-populated levels until she eventually escapes with a tape recorder containing the mine's terrible story. As she crawls through the final tunnel, the screen goes white, and the game deletes itself. The second character choice is Ghast, and he is described as an invisible, extremely powerful demon. The challenge of playing as Ghast is invisible not only to enemies on the screen, but also to the player themselves. This made navigating the game very difficult because basic actions like jumping or aiming was nearly impossible. You can't see what you're doing. Most players who attempted to play as Ghast would fail within the first few levels and, frustrated, would restart the game as Porto. And this is where the true horror of Kill.switch revealed itself. The game deletes itself upon a single play. This means a player can only ever see one story path. By completing the game as Porto, the player triggers a self-deletion and the path of Ghast is closed off to the player forever. The player is left with the realization that they have irrevocably destroyed the game game's other half without ever seeing it. The game functions as a Sophie's choice in code, presenting a simple-looking choice that is in fact a trap. The horror here is supposed to be the regret of choice and the unrepeatable nature of the path not taken. That's deep. The Legend, of course, features a recent development that fast-forwards the narrative to 2005. By this time, the game had faded into total obscurity, with all copies presumably deleted. However, a sealed or intact copy, perhaps the last one on Earth, surfaced at an auction. Some people say eBay. The last copy was sold for an astounding and hefty sum of $733,000. The buyer was a Japanese man from Tokyo named Yamamoto Rayuchi. This $733,000 figure is precise, so it sounds real, and it's a high enough amount of money to be astounding. In our culture, where extreme monetary value is the most common signifier of importance, the price tag transports the game. It's no longer just a lost item. It becomes this holy grail. It becomes this priceless artifact. The $733,000 price establishes the stakes for the Legend's final act. As the new owner of the potential last copy, Yamamoto Rayuchi reportedly felt the burden of his acquisition. He decided to play the game for everyone by recording his playthrough and posting it online for the world to see. Only one video ever surfaces, and that's a short clip that did not show any gameplay. It did not reveal any secrets of the Ghast path. Instead, it showed a fatigued and emotional, ragged-looking Yamamoto sitting in his computer's glow. He was staring at the game's main menu, or more specifically, the character selection screen, and he was gently weeping. The video, like every trace of the game, has since vanished, or never really existed at all. And this is the ending of the Kill.switch story. The narrative builds an expectation for a digital revelation, what was Ghast's ending, but delivers a human one. Yamamoto's paralysis is the game's final horrifying boss battle. He's the ultimate obsessed fan, and he is driven mad by the enormity of merely selecting his character. He's trapped by the same choice that defined the game. Theory suggests he was crying because he was about to give up, play as Porto, and then ruin potentially the last chance for anyone to discover the truth. He faced the ultimate choice: destroy the last copy of something he loves, or keep one copy of the game alive in the world, but never know the missing half of it. So in a sense, Yamamoto becomes the game's final victim. The game's horror breaks the fourth wall by breaking the player. The white screen of Porto's ending is mirrored in the computer screen glow of Yamamoto's video. The story becomes about the agony of being the one to destroy the last of it. The Legend of Killswitch is, in reality, a classic creepypasta, or short, user-generated horror stories or legends that are copy-pasted along the internet. Killswitch is frequently listed among the most famous examples of video game creepypasta, alongside tales like Ben Drowned and Polybius. The story gained massive traction online in the early 2000s, spreading virally through internet forums like 4chan and Reddit. It was amplified by a new generation of content creators, usually on YouTube, who recounted the haunted and lost game story. There was a search for the unknown author of this story, and it was revealed that the story was a work of short fiction created by award-winning author Katherine M. Valente. Karvina Corp, Kill.switch, Porto, Ghast, $733,000. None of that ever existed in real life. The story's first appearance was on a website Valente created called the Invisible Games Archive, which has since gone offline, though archives still exist, was an online short fiction collection that charts the exploits of an enigmatic electronic entertainment company, the Karvina Corporation. I like where this is going. Valente's project was a high-concept literary experiment. She wrote fictional reviews and histories of non-existent video games. The Kill.switch story was so effective in tone, it so perfectly followed the format for creepypasta that the internet's folk process mistook the story for a real video game. The story was copy and pasted, divorced from its original context on invisiblegames.net, and began to circulate as a real urban legend. It became a real ghost story. Valente later published the short story in her 2013 collection, The Melancholy of Mecha Girl. A story about an unretrievable and lost piece of media was so well written that it became a piece of lost media itself, with users on forums noting years later that they can't even find the original blog. The Kill.switch phenomenon is significantly amplified by extraordinary coincidence. A real video game with the same name, stylized as Kill.switch, was released in 2003. The rampant confusion between the 1989 legend and the 2003 reality is a reason why this legend has continued on. The real game, Kill.switch, was developed by Namco Home Tech and released in October 2003 for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox, with subsequent releases to PC and Game Boy Advance. It's a third-person shooter whose most distinguishing characteristic was its revolutionary cover system that allowed players to take cover behind objects and around quarters, and introduced a blind fire mechanic which allowed players to shoot from safety without actually aiming. The real game's obscurity is key to the confusion. It was underrated and, despite its influence, was a tiny, not very popular game that didn't receive any nominations or awards. The name, in both reality and fiction, became associated with inaccessibility and being lost, is what allows users on forums to so easily tangle the predecessor they vaguely remember with the lost game of the legend. While the real Kill.switch is obscure, its cover system revolutionized the third-person shooter genre and is deeply embedded in the DNA of modern third-person first-person shooters. In an ironic twist, the real 2003 Killswitch has its own lost lore and lost media. Most significantly, early concept art reveals plans for a female lead character, but this idea was ultimately scrapped. This is a case of poetry. The fictional 1989 legend is about a lost story path of its female protagonist, Porto. The real 2003 game has a lost history belonging to its cut female protagonist. In both the fictional and universe, the real-world development history, there is a lost female Killswitch story. The legend is a ghost story twice over, with the ghost in the real machine accidentally mirroring the ghost in the fictional one. The Killswitch legend is a perfect articulation of the modern lost media subculture. The story was spurred on by a desperate and frenzied search for the lost video game, with enthusiasts drawn to the tale of a haunted lost game. The legend is the ideal object of desire for the lost media community because it does not exist. A real piece of lost media can be found. If it is, the hunt's over and the mystery is solved. A fictional piece of lost media that is mistaken for real can never be found. The search goes on forever. But the hunt lasting forever means the community is not really hunting for a game. It's participating in a narrative. Killswitch functions as this type of mythical quest. The search is the story, and the community is the audience, co-creating the folklore while discussing it. The Killswitch phenomenon is best explained by a fictional statement allegedly released by the Karvina Corporation. Killswitch was designed to be a unique playing experience. Like reality, it is unrepeatable, unretrievable, and illogical. Death is final, and death is complete. This is key to the legend's power. The digital age is built on the opposite of Killswitch. It's an age of perfect, infinite copy and paste, cloud saves, emulation, re-releases, the idea of permanence. The Killswitch legend is a ghost story that directly attacks these ideals. It reintroduced the pre-digital concepts that modern technology has tried to solve. Uniqueness, it was unrepeatable, and finality, it's unretrievable. The Karvina statement explicitly links this unretrievable game to death. So in a way, the Killswitch legend is a modern Memento Mori, a reminder of death. In an age where we believe all data can be backed up and restored, Killswitch is a digital ghost that reminds us that, well, some things can't be. Its terror is the terror of a true game over, an experience that cannot be reloaded, a file that is gone forever. It's a profound, artistic, and successful piece of modern folklore that weaponizes our nostalgia for a creepy 8-bit past to make us confront our fear of the end. Make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, The Spooky Lawyer. Make sure that you like, share, and hype up this video. Follow me on Blue Sky, Twitter, and TikTok. My username is The Spooky Lawyer. If there is a spooky or disturbing story you would like me to cover, leave a comment and tell me about it, or send me an email. My email address is thespookyLawyer@gmail.com. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a link in the description of this video and in my bio to buy me a coffee, so buy me a coffee. Or you can become a member of this channel. For $1.99, you could get access to exclusive content, including exclusive videos, as well as access to my videos before they go public. I appreciate you considering this. You also help me by liking, sharing, and watching my videos, and I do really appreciate that you watch my videos. And please stay spooky.